Herzlich willkommen. Welcome to the Trimble Intergeo session around working with your Trimble C3 and C5 data in TBC. I'm today Sophie Wilhoek here, and I'm with Richard Hassler and Wayne Johnson. And Richard will start to present. We'll have around 25 minutes of a presentation, and then we'll have 5 minutes of question and answer phase. So with that, I'll hand over to Richard.
Hi. How's everyone? I'm Richard Hassler. I'm a product manager in the Geospatial's optical group, working in particular with our core optical or mechanical total stations. And I'm a professional land surveyor. I've worked at Trimble for over 26 years, creating products for surveyors and trainings and many other things. Okay, so to start off today, we're going to talk about Trimble Business Center. What is Trimble Business Center? Well, many of you may be familiar with it, but I'll describe it in general. It's a software package that provides complete survey and construction workflows, support for many different kinds of data input, and having the ability to work with your data together from many different sources, whether it be field data or other kinds of model data and coordinate lists and many types of data, all can be put together into one package and worked with in a coherent way. Okay, so it's available in 17 languages and it has several editions. So just to show graphically here, you can bring in field data. You can bring in adjustments or perform adjustments within the software and have them impact all of your measurements. You can have CAD drafting. You can do drafting in the software or bring CAD data into it. Surfaces and volumes can be calculated, and corridor data can be worked with. You can create corridors that can be imported and exported to our field systems and worked with for roads and different kinds of pipelines and whatever it happened to use. You can do data preparation for volumetric calculations for field data or for quantity data and takeoff and mass haul. This is in the more of construction kind of focus. And then we have specialty solutions. Those include things like tunneling, monitoring, scan data, mobile mapping, other kinds of aerial photogrammetry and so forth. So it's a pretty big package. It allows many different, you can have it in many different configurations that support the kind of work that you need to do. All right, so it comes in different editions. My focus today is really to try to talk about what makes sense for someone who has mechanical total station to use. What is really has the most impact for you in Trimble Business Center, and how you can plan to or maybe think about which version makes most sense for you. Okay, so I wanted to highlight the viewer on the left. If you go to geospatial.trimble.com and download Trimble Business Center today, you will get a version that has no license. We call that the viewer. It has capabilities, and those capabilities could help you as a mechanical total station user. And I wanted to point out that and I'll go through a few of these versions in a little bit more detail in a demo after I describe them. And it offers you many different kinds of views of the data that you can't get if you're just using your total station and outputting CSV files, for example. All right, the field data edition is the next step up in functionality for mechanical total station customer. And it can cover most of your needs for operating and working with the data from the mechanical total station. You have a lot of capabilities there, including lots of editing, and it helps you check for you could check for mistakes easily and see and work with your data. To go on from there, we have a survey intermediate, which had some functionality, providing adjustments and traverses and network adjustments, and survey advanced, which provides even more capabilities. So I'm going to go through a bit of a demo of a few of these different versions using projects that were collected using mechanical total stations, just to show you what you can do. But before I do that, I wanted to mention that all of these versions have the ability to bring in GNSS data, total station data from a robot, from mechanical, digital level data, all together into one project, and allow you to work with those data in a consistent way and produce one set of answers for your coordinates and produce many different kinds of deliverables based on the whole different, all of those different data types combined. Okay, so at this point, I will go to my first project. This is Trimble Business Center, and it has a traverse that was collected with the Trimble C3 total station, and it's showing you just the basics of what it is. Now, I wanted to start by going to the license manager quickly, just to show you that I've chosen a license type. I have no license currently, and basically all of the licensable features are unlicensed at this time. So this is what you get when you download Trimble Business Center and use what we call the viewer. Okay, so you have the ability to look at your data in many different views, or a few different views at least. This is a plan view showing your points. This traverse started at point K1 and K2, and there were angles and distances turned to travel, and you can see the small arrows that indicate it's a traverse starting at K1, K2, and going through T1 through T4, and then closing in on K3 and K4. So in this case, K1 and K2, K3 and K4 are control values that were brought in, or control coordinates that were brought in for controlling this traverse. I just wanted to point out here, as an aside, that you could just as easily go out with GNSS system and collect a point at K1 and K2 and a point at K3 and K4. And let's just imagine that this area here is a heavily wooded area that maybe you can see through with the total station, but wouldn't be very useful or easy to make measurements in due to tree canopy for GNSS. So if you wanted to fill in a traverse between some GNSS and bring in the control values in GNSS, you can do that all in TBC. And if you do that in a field project in one of our controllers, you can actually bring those data in and work with them all, even see them all in this viewer mode. Okay, so if I go to my Project Explorer and look at this project, you'll see that it has all of the observations in the order in which they were collected chronologically, and it shows you coordinate values that were entered, and it also shows you the observations. Now, for K1 and K2, those are control points. So those are designated with this icon indicating that's where the traverse started. And I have an angle or an azimuth between them here that's shown. Now I have the ability, even in this non-licensed mode, to turn on and off observations, and to even edit my azimuth in this case for the reference azimuth between those 2 points. So I have the ability to do a lot of some minor edits within this particular version. And I can even change the point ID if it was incorrectly entered in the field to fix it to make sure it's reading the correct point ID. Now down T1, point T1, it is the first point that was measured from the setup point at K1 to be the first traverse point beyond the control. And if you look at point T1, I wanted to highlight one thing here. Here's the total station setup, and it shows the coordinate for T1. That coordinate that you're using for the setup for this point at T1 is actually a traverse adjusted coordinate that was adjusted in the instrument in the field. So point T1 is obtained, the coordinate that's being shown in Trimble Business Center is the one that's obtained from the traverse adjustment in the field. That allows you to feel confident that the numbers and the information that you're displaying here actually reflects what was measured and adjusted in your instrument. Okay, so look at the notes here just to make sure I don't miss anything. So if you've been outputting just CSV files from your total station, coordinate lists of the finished coordinates, it's challenging for you to actually see your data in a way that can maybe highlight to you possible blunders or mistakes you made in the field. Now, of course, you use techniques to try to catch those in the field, but let's imagine that this has many different side shots for a topographic survey in addition to the traverse data. Well, sometimes you may change the rod height and not catch it, or maybe put an incorrect point ID on your data. Well, this visual aid of being able to see this plan view allows you to see mistakes that potentially could be resulting from an incorrect point ID or some other kind of horizontal error where you put a reference azimuth in 180 degrees off of what it should have been, things like that. There's also a 3D view available to you that where I can turn my observations and actually look from the side. Again, if I had many side shot observations that are measurements for topo data, and I incorrectly failed to adjust my rod height correctly in the instrument when I was making my measurements, you may see a vertical discontinuity or vertical jump in your data here that could be caught by looking at it in this viewer mode and looking at it in 3D. So for just a simple download, you can get quite a bit of functionality that helps you detect errors and look at your data and make sure that it resembles what you expect it to look like. Well, there are limited numbers of reports and other kinds of views available that TBC offers in the other editions to this viewer mode. So I'll take you to the next mode, which is called the field, or the next edition, the next step up in the TBC product line, I guess you could say, the field data edition. I'm using the exact same software that I've downloaded, but if I go in and go to my license manager, I'm going to plug in a small dongle into my computer that has the license information for the field data module. And when I do that and hit apply, you'll see that it's now licensed as the field data edition, which provides more capabilities than what you saw in the version that I just showed you. Okay, nothing else has changed, same software, but more capability. All right, so now I have, in addition to plan view and 3D view, several other views that I can show you here. So there's a points spreadsheet where I can look at all of my points together in one kind of spreadsheet. I can sort by northings, eastings, look at my coordinate list, and even if I wanted to select this and copy it and paste it out into a spreadsheet in Excel or something like that. I also have the ability to look at an optical spreadsheet that shows me all of my observations as they were taken all together in one spreadsheet. Now, the reason why these two or how these can be used to help you is now I have editing capabilities quite a bit richer than what I had in the viewer mode that allow me to make changes. And let's say, for example, I have some observations. I'll select these observations and right click on them and show the properties. And when I do that, all of the observations that are selected properties are shown, and those properties that are common, property types like a raw target height is common for all of mechanical total stations. You know, they all have a target height. In this case, they're all exactly the same as 0. But let's suppose you have several observations that I've picked that represent observations that you want to change the target height for. I can make one simple change to the selected observations here, and all of those observations will then get the edit that I make to change the target height to the proper value. And I can change, or I could change the prism constant, the type of prism that's used, and so forth. So I have the ability to make bulk edits or group edits by using these spreadsheets to select several observations and go into the properties and change them. Okay, so I also have it capable to view many different kinds of reports. Here we go. Many different kinds of reports that are available to me in the field data edition. So one of those is a simple point list where I'm looking at the points that I have in the project and output a nicely formatted point list if I want to add that to my final report for the project, or if I want to send that to one of my colleagues or a client. Okay, and then I have the ability to also to look at or produce feature coded line work from TBC now. In the field data edition, I have that ability. So I'm going to go quickly to a different project that I have open on my machine here. And this is just a very basic project with a few control points in it and many side shots showing the data collection for a bit of a topographic work or planimetric work, capturing a small piece of a roadway. And I can look at it in 2D and plan view and look at my data. This data set has a few photographs that were taken and assigned. This was taken with a C5 total station using our origin software. It just so happens. And there were some images taken on some of the points. And for example, if we look at ACM here, there's a small icon indicating that there are media files available. So this can be done in the viewer edition or the viewer mode as well. So if you have no license, you can still see your media data, but I can look at my media files for that point. And when I do, I can look at my pictures that were taken, and see the images that are associated with that point. So I could have a audio recording or maybe even a video that I've linked to the point in the field. I can view that in Trimble Business Center and all of the editions. Okay, so this work, this is kind of the screen where you would be working with your data, making sure you have good coordinates. Once you decide to select your survey and process feature codes, you can basically do automated mapping directly from the field codes that you were assigned to the points. And if you look along here, you can see that these points have SW or GUT, this is sidewalk, top of a curb, the gutter or flow line of the road. And you can even put control codes on them to indicate that you'd like to have a smooth curve, start of a smooth curve or end smooth curves, and have it create these kinds of curved lines connecting the points for you automatically. You can also have you place symbols, and it does this based on your feature code library. And the feature code library can indicate to you, or can indicate to the software, which layer you'd like to put the data on and what kind of symbology to use for the points, and what kind of line work, whether it's a dashed line or a solid line. So you can have a feature code library that has a very rich set of information of how you like your map or your automated mapping to be done. And Trimble Business Center, with a very easy click of a process feature codes, will generate all of that and allow you in real time, or kind of in semi-real time while you're going through it, change the feature codes and see the results of your changes very quickly to make sure you have the line work and points looking the way you want them to. And I could then select these data with a simple selection and go to export and export them to different standardized file formats, like a DWG file or a DXF file, or perhaps even an IFC file. So I have the ability to dump out or provide to my clients a file that contains the automated mapping, basically set up the way it needs to be set up for their organization or for them to be able to use it. Likewise, I have I'll look at my point spreadsheet. I could select points here. Let's say I want to select these points and output them. I can then go to custom export and put out a point list in any kind of format really that I want. I can create my own custom format for how I'd like to see my points displayed, so that downstream software or somebody else's software can take those points in easily and be able to use them for additional work that you'd like to do with your coordinate data. Okay, so looking through real quickly, I think that pretty much covers this view of the data, or this, how can I say it, this licensing option. So if I want to go beyond that, I'm going to go to the next level up in Trimble Business Center, which is Survey, one of the Survey Intermediate or Survey Advanced. I happen to have Survey Advanced, but the features I'm going to show you are the same in Survey Intermediate. And I'm going to pick, instead of the license that I'm using, which is the hardware dongle, I'm going to use a license that is a software license that I have on my machine. I've actually placed a license into this machine so that I can see more capabilities here. Okay, so now I have many different features, or many of Trimble Business Center's features available to me, and it actually shows you more menus based upon what licensing you have, if you wish it to. And I have everything turned on pretty much at this point. But two of the things that are available in the Survey Intermediate edition are the ability to do a traverse adjustment. So I'm going to go back to my other data set real fast and show you that in my traverse, now I have the same licensing in this project as I had in the other. I can go to my plan view and look at my imported files and see that my traverse here, and I have the ability to go under survey to adjust traverse. Now I can readjust this traverse in the office. And when I click adjust traverse, it shows you all of those members that belong to this traverse. You could have many in your project. And it shows you the direction of travel of basically how it was collected, and allows you to change the members of your traverse and change any other parameters that you would like to see to impact the traverse adjustment. Maybe you change coordinates on some of your control points, or maybe you've decided that one of your targets was a different kind or something. You made some kind of change that would impact your traverse adjustment. And before you even do make some changes here, it will automatically show you the results of the traverse before you've applied it. So Trimble Business Center has behind it a very strong computation engine. And in addition to that, it has a traverse adjustment algorithms and network adjustment algorithms that can work on the data and then go back, and when they're done, feed back into the computation engine for the project. And any changes that you make will propagate through all of your data throughout Trimble Business Center. So this can show you the results of your traverse adjustment. If you feel confident about that being the right solution, or you're happier with the results, then you can hit apply, and it will then apply those changes to the traverse and then propagate those changes through all of your data. Likewise, if you have a network that contains many different loops, traverse loops, all on top of each other, doing individual traverse adjustments has to be done in a particular order and could give you some interesting results. And historically, it's been done this way for many, many years throughout a lot of the world. But a nicer approach could be to do a network adjustment of your data. So you could have all of these traverse loops all together and adjust them as one network and get one answer based on weighted measurements, and use the strength of your geometry for all of your traverse networks together, or traverses together into one network, and provide one set of coordinates for you that gives you all of everything you need to get a nice consistent set of results to pass to use for computations for anything else you're going to do. Okay, so additionally, this version, or this Survey Intermediate edition, has some other capabilities. One of which is you can create a surface. So if you think back on that project I showed you a second ago with the feature coded data with a lot of line work in it, those lines can be treated as break lines and create a surface model of that site from your data. So it has surface modeling. It also has more advanced CAD tools and many GNSS tools. You can process your baselines from raw GNSS data and many other capabilities. So this has kind of just been a quick review of the differences, some of the differences that exist in the different tiers or levels or editions of Trimble Business Center that are available to you. And just kind of wanted to go back and close out with, you have the ability today, if you've not ever tried TBC before, to download the viewer edition or the license-free edition from geospatial.trimble.com and check it out. See if it provides some value to you in looking at your mechanical total station data. And if you're interested in perhaps going beyond that, contact your local dealer, and they can give you pricing options and talk to you more about how TBC might be able to fit your needs for other kinds of data that you might work with as well. That's pretty much what I have for today. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to what I have to say, and at this point we can take questions.
Great, thank you, Richard. That was a good balance between introduction information and then detailed information. So made for a great presentation. We do have one question come in that I'll read out here. It was, Richard, in the case I have multiple shots on the same point for the traverse, while adjusting the traverse, does TBC consider an average of those measurements, or it can only consider one measurement for each point?
Good question. The computation engine actually is very rich in Trimble Business Center and will take all possible options. And I can perhaps show you quickly now that I have it turned on. It can take all possible options for a coordinate and try to figure out what is the best coordinate for the point. And in the case of multiple mechanical total station observations, they're all kind of weighted or seen by the computation engine as having the same quality. So it kind of depends on from what the source of your computations are. In this case, I have control quality coordinates on points K1 and K2, so those kind of rate the highest, and measurements away from those then get the quality that's associated with the measurement type between the points. So in this case, it's a survey observation between K1 and T1, so it's going to have survey quality. And in the end, let me show you really fast. Reports. I have a point derivation report, and it'll show you what's being used to calculate the final values for your points. So this observation, for example, from between K1 and T1 is used to calculate all of the coordinates for the point, and then any other way that it's being calculated, for example, from this T2 to T1 observation backwards, is compared. And if there's a big difference, then allow you to see if there's an errant or broken observation in there, and it'll let you more or less enable and disable observations as you see fit to make sure that the observations you want to be controlling the coordinate for the point are the ones that are being used. So there's some good controls in TBC and a very rich computation engine to do that. I hope that answered your question. And this applies to GNSS and other types of observations as well. You may have a mapping quality value there. You may have other survey observations to the point, and it'll pick which one's best. If you do adjustments, then the adjusted coordinates are the ones that are promoted to be the ones that rule for the point and are the ones used for the points, with network adjustment being the highest of all. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
No other questions come in, and we're just on time now, so I think we'll wrap it up. And
okay,
yeah, so echo Richard's comments. Thank you all for joining today, and we appreciate your time and attention. From a quick look at the attendee list, I could see we had people from all around the world joining, which is great. And yeah, we hope you now have a taste for some of the capabilities that are available to you that you may not have been aware of before. So like Richard said, please download and explore TBC today. I know that there's a number of tutorials built into the software, and there's a lot of YouTube instructional videos available online. So yeah, please download it and try it out.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you all, and danke schön to Sophie for hosting the webinar today.
Vielen Dank.
Bitteschön. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the great presentation, Richard.
Okay.